Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Christine Hess joins us. She's the Executive Director of the Nevada Housing Coalition, and they're dealing with $500 million in government money. Here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're pleased to welcome to the program for the first time Christine Hess. She is Executive Director of the Nevada Housing Coalition. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
You are very welcome. Let's start out with what is the Nevada Housing Coalition?
Sure. So the Nevada Housing Coalition, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We work statewide to advance and promote affordable housing for all Nevadans.
So we're in a situation where interest rates are going through the roof. In northern Nevada, just for example, we need 50,000 new homes over the next 10 years, and we're not even getting close to building that. It seems to be a terrible time to be in the affordable housing business.
Yeah, well, even before the interest rates have gone up so much, housing was out of reach. And particularly in northern Nevada, certainly inventory and supply is an issue, right? We need more housing, but we also need the housing that our community needs, right? So a lot of our working Nevadans are just struggling to get anything affordable.
One of the things I was reading in this past weekend, and I'm not sure if it was the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, was saying that one of the problems with getting more housing, period, is that senior citizens who would in the past have downsized are staying in their homes. And so it's an individual living in a 3 or 4 bedroom home, which means that families, for example, can't move up to get a larger space because people are not downsizing. Are you finding that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I read that same article and it was intriguing, wasn't it? And when you think about it, you can see it happening around us. And in fact, the article referenced what, when it comes to impacting affordability, our lack of diverse housing types and how we've moved away from kind of that starter home, right, the 1,400 square foot home, that is really no longer available. And so those seniors are kind of forced to age in place in a home that might not be best suited for them. And as you mentioned, taking up that inventory for other families.
All right, so, I mean, you've got the homeless, which is one whole category, but then you have all these other categories. Is there a desire on the part of the younger public, shall we say, to want to have more than any other generation has had? Because, it seems if you go back a few decades, that your first home out of your parents was going to be sharing a place with 10 other people in a 2-bedroom home, and those that worked in the day got the beds at night, and those that worked at night got the beds in the day. Is that out the window these days for the majority of the population?
I don't know that I see that. In fact, very interesting, in Las Vegas, a new technology platform just launched, if you will, their Las Vegas offices, and it's an operation called Pad Split, right? So it's an opportunity, a platform for house sharing. Although they do say the demographic, their average age is 39. So not necessarily young people all, how we might think. But I don't think so. I think it's really a space in our communities where we maybe have missed building some of the housing types that our young people want. I think up here in the north, though, we do see a revitalization of downtown and some of those things coming back, at least in the Reno-Sparks area. So I don't think necessarily it's young people wanting more than we had. I think it's an expectation that if you work, that you can afford something. And that's part of the problem, right, is there's not a lot of affordable options.
Okay, so how do you make that work? Is that a government responsibility? Is that public-private partnership responsibility? Who do you look to say, because I know you have board members who are bankers, for example. I know going to a bank is not always the easiest thing when you're a young person, but it's not really easy for anybody these days. So what are you looking at as solutions to this?
Yeah, I think you address exactly that. So I would say my answer is yes. Government is part of the solution, but I've said from the beginning, right, government cannot nor should they solve our affordability challenges in housing. So government is part of the solution, public-private partnerships absolutely, and I can point to a couple of those that I see happening across the affordable spectrum. So when I think of housing too, I think of an affordable housing spectrum, right? And you have homelessness, as you mentioned, which is at the one end, moving through the spectrum, and people will enter the spectrum in different places, just as they will move up and down the spectrum, potentially, hopefully up. But you'll have supportive housing, which is permanent housing that might require some services, kind of that first rung on the ladder out of homelessness. We'll move into potentially affordable, and when I say affordable in that tech context, I mean subsidized housing. Right, so housing that was maybe built with low-income housing tax credits, so the units have income restrictions and the rents are lower. They're artificially depressed because of the federal subsidies that come in. So you have rental, affordable housing, and then we move up to market rate housing, rental, ideally home ownership, which can be both affordable with some lease restrictions, land lease restrictions in terms of how much they're able to sell their properties for and maintaining that affordability, or just market rate. And across that spectrum, what's important, when I say affordable with income restrictions, that also is for our working Nevadans. Typically it's, in my world, let's say below, I'm not good, 60% of area median income, let's say $45,000, right? People making around 35 to 45 still may need some help to find a unit, right?
Right.
There aren't any affordable units. So typically in my world, but the market doesn't build that. Could it? It typically does not. The market comes in at a little higher income level for people. So here we do need some federal subsidies coming in.
All right, so we saw huge money coming into the state of Nevada, and a lot of it directed towards housing from the federal government in the past couple of years. How much of that has actually made it through the system to where we're at least building the housing, if not actually occupying it?
Yeah, it's incredible right now for Nevada. So one of the things to keep in mind, Sam, is Nevada's population growth came after the major investment, right, by the federal government into housing in the 60s, right? We've grown incredibly the last couple decades, and we're still growing because it's an awesome place to be. And so as part of that, we've not had some of the investments as other communities. So when we talk about some of the investments that have come our way, and also Nevada's choice to invest some of those funds that were a little more flexible in housing, to invest that in housing, long-term assets, absolutely, it's going to make a big difference for Nevada going forward and for generations, right? So the biggest win, I would say, for Nevada that we've seen was dedicating $500 million of our American Rescue Plan Act funds.
And that's what I was referring to.
Yes.
So how has that affected the market at this point?
It won't yet. And those funds are very, even though they were flexible, they are still coming from the U.S. Treasury, right? So they have some restrictions to them, particularly in terms of income levels. So they're pretty restricted in terms of which income levels they can help, but they're helping an income level that, again, the market doesn't build. So super important housing, meaning to have those subsidies and federal investment in. And when you say when, I would say not today, not soon enough. But it is getting built. So those awards have been made for the $500 million, and now we'll be looking to build. But per the Treasury, unless something changes, the deadline to having those dollars spent is December 31, 2026. So we're going to see a lot of activity right now, which is a lot of jobs, obviously, in the construction space. But in terms of turning around and seeing some occupancy, I would say this coming year, we'll see some of those units available.
Okay, because we're seeing, as we talk to people in the building industry, and in fact our previous guest was in the real estate world, they're talking about layoffs at this point in time, not an increase in business. So how does those two things juxtapose?
Yes, well, it may be a time that the market is finding that they're going to slow down their construction. I can tell you in the affordable space, though, there's going to be no shortage of a demand for labor. Our concern among, our stakeholders, which many are the affordable developers, is finding the labor, no doubt.
All right, well, it appears that there's going to be more labor available, but do they have to work because it's federal money at a prevailing wage?
The requirements of the Treasury were recommended, Davis-Bacon, right? So federal prevailing wage was recommended. Our state did add a requirement for state prevailing wage, which would go above and beyond the federal prevailing wage.
Okay, so wouldn't that make it harder to stretch those dollars to be able to build more?
It would.
So what are the discussions that are going on about that?
The Nevada Housing Coalition engaged in this process early, right? I remember I was in the middle of the 2021 session and I was like, oh my gosh, the state wants to know how they should spend their money. Well, affordable housing, of course, but why should they listen to Christine, right? So we convened a diverse group of stakeholders, right? The builders were at the table, developers, for-profit, nonprofit, affordable, tenant advocates, community service providers, a group of 70 stakeholders, local government input as well, and really helped develop the framework for that $500 million. We came forward and said, we think the state should commit $500 million and in these buckets. They've since done it a little differently. Prevailing wage was not on our in our recommendation because we do want to stretch those dollars as far as possible. Also in Nevada, it's difficult because we don't have a residential prevailing wage and it's not something typical in the affordable space. That said, there is a model I think that they're hoping will work here in Northern Nevada to move it forward. But overall in our industry, you don't see it at all in affordable housing in Nevada. So with the state prevailing wage. Now Davis-Bacon certainly is something more familiar. So it does add cost. I would say generally significant cost. Generally, as a coalition, we were disappointed with the added requirement because it meant a decrease in units, which ultimately we just want to get as many homes for as many Nevadans as possible with these monies.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back more with Christine Hess, Executive Director of the Nevada Housing Coalition, after this timeout.
Ring in the holidays with $350,000 big holiday extravaganza at Carson Valley Inn. Over 1,000 winners. Weekly cash, free playing up to $10K in cash every Saturday. And 2 grand prize drawings. Win up to $20,000 in cash. 'Tis the season for winning big at the Carson Valley Inn.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
It's a good time to win during the Big Deal $150,000 guaranteed giveaways at Tamarack Casino. $15,000 in cash and free play giveaways each week. And $50,000 in grand prize giveaways with two top prizes of $15,000 cash. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Christine Hess. She is the Executive Director of the Nevada Housing Coalition. So explain to folks, because you have this on your website, the depth of the problem, the number of homes that are needed and by whom.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to speak specifically to the lower income households in Nevada. And Nevada actually has the worst available and affordable inventory for households that make below 30% of area median income. Again, depending on where you are, let's say $20,000 to $25,000 a year, so working Nevadans, and also those on fixed incomes. We have a need, according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, which is some very good research that's utilized across the country, but they would tell you that Nevada needs 84,000 more units of housing for renter households making below 30% of area median income, so below $25,000 a year.
Okay, and what do you think that we can actually generate? The number of houses we could actually generate using that 500 million as a baseline?
First I would tell you that the coalition's here to have affordable housing for all Nevadans. So I would consider the 500 million to be a catalyst, right? One of the things I think it's hard to say, I want to set a little bit of context because it's hard to say what will the 500 million do, because I think when you understand the landscape of affordable housing that serves our lower income households in Nevada, you really need to understand where we are now. So right now Nevada has 36,000 units of subsidized housing, right? Primarily, almost over 95% of our housing is built with low income housing tax credits. Great program, you know, it can definitely have some improvements, and we're hoping for some reforms potentially coming through Congress soon. That said, 36,000 units. From 2014 to 2020, we basically had the same number. So so I think what's really important to know is not just how many units will this 500 million create or preserve, but what it will do. I mean, even an increase in our inventory of 10% or 15% is huge. We have not done that. So I would say when we first put forward our recommendation, oh gosh, I don't have those numbers handy and I see a lot of numbers in my head. I would say in new homes, I think we estimated around 3,500, 5,000, somewhere in there in new. But I don't want to totally guess off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I don't have that number.
Okay, so
straightforward.
let me ask
and that
you,
would be new, not preserved, which would have a little lower cost.
do we need to think more in terms of vertical development than horizontal development when we're talking about affordable housing? Because that's something that Dina Titus has talked about in Las Vegas, the Ring Around the Valley years ago, and certainly in the more of the downtown cores, you're seeing it. For example, in Reno, the old Park Lane Mall, has gone vertical, downtown Sparks has gone vertical. Is that what we need more of? Are we just not dealing with the fact that we've become big cities?
Absolutely. I would say we're also, we're constrained by land, right, in
Hugely.
Nevada. So I think that increased...
Las Vegas just turned down the land bill that they were offered.
Yeah, the increased density is something we have to consider, right? So whether it's up, whether it's, again, smaller lots maybe, right, less setbacks, for example, all of those things are absolutely things that we need to be considering as a community. I think what's really important, though, is that all things need to be on the table, right? Is it accessory dwelling units? That those are becoming a part of the solution. One thing I can tell you...
Okay, hang on. Accessory dwelling units.
Oh, sure.
Is that a home in somebody's backyard?
Yes,
okay.
That would be a simple way to describe
okay.
it. And that can look a lot different, but it could support multi-generational living, right? Whether it's someone aging in the family or whether it's a young person that lives there. But it can also be housing stock for a community, right? So it's really just a space where we have to really think about all the potential options to have solutions, right? As I mentioned earlier, I'm fairly new to affordable housing. I definitely think of it as a solutions thing, and since I've been in the space, I wish I could tell you there was one answer.
Right.
That would make my life easy. But what I can tell you is there are so many things that need to happen, but none is the answer. Not even 500 million is the answer, but it's important, right? Just like taking a look at density is important for all our communities. Of course, matching our communities, but also listening to what our community wants and needs.
Okay, but then you run into and you have to do that, but you run into so many problems because, you know, the whole NIMBY concept comes up and people don't want this because they want things to stay the way it was when they came in and closed the door behind them. Let's take another break. We'll be right back after this timeout.
It's a good time to win during the Big Deal $150,000 guaranteed giveaways at Tamarack Casino. $15,000 in cash and free play giveaways each week. And $50,000 in grand prize giveaways with 2 top prizes of $15,000 cash. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Ring in the holidays with $350,000 big holiday extravaganza at Carson Valley Inn. Over 1,000 winners. Weekly cash, free play, and up to $10K in cash every Saturday. And 2 grand prize drawings. Win up to $20,000 in cash. 'Tis the season for winning big at the Carson Valley Inn.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Christine Hess. She is the Executive Director of the Nevada Housing Coalition. Shouldn't we be looking at places that have lower costs for development, like Fernley, Fallon, Lovelock, places like this, and looking at similar areas surrounding Las Vegas, where the prices of land are not so high, the cost of building is not so high, but that doesn't seem to be a big discussion topic.
I think that, again, as I mentioned, to me, the solutions are many, right? And so are those options? Absolutely. One of the things, and in the space where I work primarily, right, which is serving those particularly below 60% of area median income. Not wholly, right? We want to ensure housing options for all Nevadans, but really kind of doubling down on some of the hardest to build housing, the housing that doesn't build itself. As soon as we start looking there, the issue becomes how far we are away from work, right? Because now you've added transportation costs that again just knock down affordability.
Okay, but then don't you, and I've said this forever, it's not the RTC because they're specifically Washoe County, Clark County, but some form of RTC to develop bus transportation where you can come, for example, sorry Fernley, I don't mean to be picking on you, but from Fernley to Reno is 30 minutes. You put people on a nice comfortable bus with Wi-Fi, they don't have to deal with that traffic. If you build the frequency to where it makes sense, then maybe you can do that and take some cars off the road.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's fantastic. Again, that requires an investment, right? We know public transportation doesn't, again, just happen by itself. It requires an investment.
But you can face that off against the investment of widening I-80 or building additional roadways, which is something that people want and need, but it could be part of the solution. We're out of time right now.
Absolutely.
But it was a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to you coming back and discussing this further, because $500 million is a lot of money.
Oh, I can't wait to see what it's going to build. Yes, thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
With Nevada's only transplant center and verified burn center, the science is here. With award-winning cardiologist and the state's only dedicated heart failure clinic, the talent is here. With Nevada's most advanced robotic surgery, the technology is here. And with the Silver State's only designated pediatric trauma center, hope is here. All because we are here. UMC.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. See you on the next show.